What makes this moment impossible to ignore is not the clarity of the photos, not the quality of the angles, and not even the identities of the two people at the center of the frame, but the ordinariness of how it happened. Because when Song Weilong and Zhao Jinmai were captured walking together on an everyday city street, it stripped away every familiar excuse the internet had relied on for years. No stage lighting, no barricades, no schedules to hide behind. Just a quiet evening and two recognizable figures moving through it without urgency or disguise, and that is precisely why the conversation shifted so fast and so deeply. Because this sighting did not feel like an accident or a misunderstanding or a cleverly cropped moment designed to spark chatter. It felt like a choice, a calm one, made in full awareness of how visible they were. And the first image that surfaced online reflected that truth immediately, slightly blurred, unevenly framed, clearly taken by someone who did not realize the weight of what they had just captured until it was already too late. Song Weilong dressed simply, hands relaxed, posture unguarded. Zhao Jinmai beside him in casual clothes, no masks, no hats, no exaggerated attempts at anonymity. Walking not too fast and not too slow, just the pace of two people comfortable in each other's presence, and within minutes the reaction became unstoppable as fan communities erupted, timelines froze, group chats stalled mid-sentence, and the same question echoed everywhere in slightly different forms, but with identical meaning. Why now and why like this? Because netizens quickly confirmed what mattered most. This was not a filming location, not a brand setup, not a promotional coincidence. The street signs, storefronts, and lighting all pointed to a real residential area known for late-night food and quiet cafes, a place celebrities only visit when they want to blend into normal life, and that detail changed everything, especially when eyewitnesses began adding pieces to the story, claiming the two had entered a small restaurant together earlier. No entourage, no staged separation, sitting side by side instead of across from each other. A detail fans understand instinctively because distance is a performance choice, while closeness is habit, and then came the smallest gesture that somehow carried the loudest meaning. A passerby describing how Song Weilong gently guided Zhao Jinmai around a parked scooter without breaking stride, a movement so natural it would have been invisible if not for the context, and what struck fans most was not romance in the dramatic sense, but ease, no tension in their shoulders, no scanning the crowd, no stiff smiles, just a relaxed rhythm rarely seen in real-life celebrity sightings. Zhao Jinmai smiling openly in a way that felt unfiltered, Song Weilong standing with a softness that contrasted sharply with the guarded demeanor fans were used to seeing. And that absence of caution spoke louder than any press release ever could, prompting netizens to revisit every past rumor with new eyes, the airport appearances where they arrived separately but left minutes apart, the brand events where they avoided eye contact yet mirrored each other unconsciously, the Guerlain moment where proximity felt unnecessary but persistent, the Gucci event whispers that refused to fade. All previously dismissed as coincidence now resurfaced with renewed weight, and the hashtags evolved in real time, from spotted together to no hiding anymore to confirmation talks within hours, dividing fans into familiar camps, those demanding official statements and those arguing that behavior is sometimes the most honest announcement. Especially when industry insiders anonymously suggested this was the first time the two had been seen together without visible management presence, a detail that sent a chill through fan spaces because timing matters, and both actors had lighter schedules. No urgent promotions, no immediate drama launches, the kind of quiet window where personal choices can finally breathe, leading fans to re-examine recent interviews where Song Weilong spoke about stability and living more honestly. Words that once sounded generic now feeling unmistakably deliberate, alongside Zhao Jinmai's own comments about growing up, protecting her private life, and no longer wanting to perform emotions, dots the internet connected with ruthless efficiency. And when a second photo appeared later showing them waiting at a crosswalk, Song Weilong angled subtly toward Zhao Jinmai, not hovering but positioned protectively, Zhao Jinmai leaning just close enough for their shoulders to nearly touch. That nearly became everything. Because it is the exact distance people keep when they know they are seen but still choose closeness, and reactions turned emotional, happiness from longtime supporters, quiet heartbreak from others who felt a fantasy dissolve, not anger but acceptance. Intensified by the brief moment when Zhao Jinmai reportedly liked a comment about choosing happiness over fear before it disappeared, too late to stop screenshots from spreading, and slowly the narrative softened from scandal to understanding. With more voices urging respect, reminding everyone they are actors, not characters, while conspiracy theories faded under the weight of consistency, because coincidence does not walk side by side through public streets without separating, does not sit next to someone in a restaurant without staff, does not look that comfortable under unplanned scrutiny, and by morning the images were everywhere, translated, analyzed, debated across platforms and borders. Still without a single official word from either party or their agencies, leaving the public with only what they could see, and what they could see was unmistakable, not proof, not confirmation. But the quiet confidence of two people no longer trying very hard to convince anyone otherwise. And that confidence became the most unsettling detail of all, because in an industry built on controlled appearances and careful messaging, choosing to appear ordinary can be the boldest statement possible, especially when both individuals have spent years navigating fame with discipline and restraint, aware that every step outside carries consequences not just for themselves, but for projects, endorsements, and fan expectations. And yet on that night there was no visible attempt to manage perception, no visible panic when cameras appeared, no sudden retreat into separate cars or different directions. Just continuity, one step following another as if the noise of the internet existed somewhere far away and irrelevant. And fans noticed that too, noting how neither looked startled, neither adjusted posture, neither reached instinctively for a phone or mask, reactions that have become almost automatic among public figures. Instead, they continued moving forward, accepting visibility rather than resisting it, which fueled the interpretation that this was not a slip but a moment long anticipated and finally allowed, a theory strengthened by the way subsequent online activity unfolded, with no immediate denials. No rapid-fire clarifications, no coordinated attempts to drown the story out with unrelated content, just silence, and in the celebrity ecosystem silence is rarely empty, it is often strategic, sometimes protective, and occasionally an admission that there is nothing urgent left to correct. And as hours passed without contradiction, fans began to interpret the quiet as its own form of response, a pause that invited reflection rather than argument, encouraging discussions that went beyond gossip into something more introspective, conversations about privacy, growth, and the human cost of constant scrutiny, with some longtime supporters recalling how both Song Weilong and Zhao Jinmai entered the industry young, learning early how to smile carefully, speak cautiously, and protect personal boundaries in environments that reward openness but punish vulnerability. And in that context, this unguarded street moment felt less like rebellion and more like release, a soft exhale after years of holding breath. Which may explain why even those who felt disappointed or heartbroken expressed their emotions with surprising gentleness, acknowledging that affection for an idol does not grant ownership over their life, and that maturity sometimes means letting go of imagined futures to make room for real ones, while others pointed out how rare it is to see two high-profile figures appear so synchronized in body language without obvious choreography, noting the way they matched pace, adjusted direction together, and maintained an awareness of each other's position in space that suggested familiarity built over time rather than convenience. And analysts dissected details endlessly: the angle of shoulders, the timing of steps, the absence of nervous laughter, the consistency between eyewitness accounts and the fact that no alternative explanation seemed to fully account for all elements at once. And as the debate evolved, it became less about whether a relationship existed and more about what it meant if it did. Whether this moment marked a turning point in how younger generation celebrities choose to navigate romance in public, opting for quiet normalization instead of dramatic reveal or total secrecy, and whether audiences themselves are gradually becoming more receptive to that approach. valuing authenticity over illusion. And amid all this analysis, one thing remained constant. The images themselves did not change. They did not gain clarity. They did not multiply dramatically. There was no flood of new angles or follow-up videos. Just a small collection of imperfect glimpses that continued to hold attention because of what they implied rather than what they showed, reinforcing the idea that sometimes less information creates a stronger narrative than saturation ever could. And as days passed, the story settled into the cultural background, referenced in comment sections, interview questions, and fan discussions, not as a scandal demanding resolution, but as a moment of transition, a line drawn between before and after. And regardless of what official statements may or may not come in the future, that shift in perception has already taken place, because once the public witnesses two people stop performing distance and start inhabiting proximity naturally, it becomes difficult to unsee, difficult to reframe as coincidence, and nearly impossible to return fully to denial. And that is why this sighting continues to resonate, not because it confirmed something definitively, but because it revealed something quietly. The possibility that behind curated images and controlled narratives there are still moments where real life slips through unpolished and unannounced, reminding audiences that celebrities, for all their visibility, still crave the same simple freedoms as anyone else: to walk, to eat, to wait at a crosswalk, to stand close to someone they trust without calculating how it will be interpreted. And in witnessing that, viewers are left not just with curiosity, but with a choice of their own, whether to cling to speculation or to allow space for humanity, and that choice may ultimately define how this story is remembered, not as a rumor confirmed or denied, but as the night when two familiar faces chose normalcy over concealment and changed the conversation without saying a single word. Thank you for reading and staying with this evolving story. If you appreciate in-depth celebrity coverage that looks beyond headlines and into the meaning behind moments, please subscribe to our channel. 24H News, TM, for continuous updates and thoughtful analysis, and share your perspective in the comments on what you believe this quiet appearance truly represents.